People always say that time is predictable, a straight line moving forward, but to me, time has always felt like a well-oiled machine. One that Nicholas and I built together, gear by gear, never skipping a beat. Every morning was the same. The sun barely cresting over the tennis courts, the rhythmic bounce of balls against taut strings, the sound of laughter mixed with a sharp call of instructions. Our academy was our shared passion, our legacy. Nicholas trained the boys. I trained the girls. And together we shaped them into players who loved the game as much as we did. Nicholas was only 20, but he had the kind of presence that commanded a court. He was quick-witted, strong, and his easy confidence made him the favorite among the young athletes. The boys wanted to be him. The girls giggled when he walked by. And I admired him just as I always had. He was my son, my partner in this life, my greatest pride. "Mom, you're staring again." His voice was teasing as he leaned against the net, his racket resting on his shoulder. The late afternoon sun glowed against his tanned skin, making him look even more like the champion he was. I rolled my eyes, tossing him a fresh ball from the basket. "I'm just wondering when you're finally going to beat me in a match." Nicholas grinned, spinning the ball in his hand. Today could be the day. It wasn't. I beat him in 2 straight sets. We had always been competitive, but it was never about winning or losing. It was about the game, the push and pull, the way we could read each other's next move before it happened. Our students often watched us with wide eyes, knowing they were witnessing something rare. "Still too slow," I teased as we shook hands at the net. Nicholas groaned, ruffling his damp hair. "I'll get you next time." "Aha." I handed him a towel. "At this rate, I'll be retired before that happens." He laughed, the sound easy, familiar. "Then I'll just have to keep you playing forever." After training, we locked up the courts and headed to our usual spot, a small cafe just down the street where we refueled after long days. The owner knew our orders by heart. 2 protein smoothies, one with extra peanut butter for him, one with almond milk for me. "Big tournament coming up," Nicholas mused between sips. "Think the kids are ready?" "I think they're better than last year," I said. "Especially your boys." He smirked. "And your girls are terrifying." "Good." I smiled, tapping my cup against his. "That means I'm doing my job." It had always been like this, our world neatly balanced, an unspoken rhythm between us. The rest of the world saw us as a well-matched duo, a mother and son who shared an unbreakable bond. And we were. But sometimes in moments like these, when the light outside turned golden and the space between us felt smaller than it should, I wondered if there was something more lingering in the air. A strange, fleeting thought that I never let take root. "Hey," Nicholas said suddenly, drawing me back. "You're quiet." I shook my head, forcing a smile. "Just tired." "Then we should go home," he said easily, already standing. "Tomorrow's another long day." Another day in the clockwork life we had built. Another day where everything was exactly as it should be. And yet, as we walked home together, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. The tournament had always been the highlight of the year. Months of training, sweat, and discipline all led up to this, the test of skill, endurance, and mental fortitude. Nicholas and I had trained our students relentlessly, molding them into fierce competitors, and now it was time to watch them shine. The energy inside the sports complex was electrifying. The sound of sneakers screeching against polished courts, the rhythmic thwack of balls against rackets, and the occasional bursts of cheers filled the air. Parents sat on the bleachers, cameras in hand, while young athletes stretched and prepared themselves mentally for their matches. Nicholas and I stood near the courts, exchanging last-minute strategies with our players. "You've got this, Anna," I said to one of my top students, gripping her shoulder reassuringly. "Focus on your footwork. Stay light, stay fast." She nodded determinedly before jogging off to warm up. Nicholas nudged me playfully with his elbow. "You talk to them like they're soldiers going into battle." I smirked, crossing my arms. "Tennis is a battle." He laughed, shaking his head. "I don't know whether to be impressed or slightly terrified." I shot him a sideways glance. A little bit of both is good. After the first round of games, I retreated to the girls' locker room for a brief moment of solitude. It was empty, the faint echo of the bustling tournament muffled by the thick walls. I exhaled, rolling my shoulders as I began changing out of my tournament polo, my muscles sore from hours of standing and coaching. Just as I reached for my fresh shirt, the door creaked open. I turned sharply, expecting one of my girls, but instead, Nicholas stepped in. His expression was relaxed, unreadable. Nicholas. I frowned, instinctively pulling my shirt up to cover myself, though I wasn't completely undressed. This is the girls' locker room. He leaned casually against the doorway, arms crossed, as if completely unbothered. I know. I narrowed my eyes. Then why are you here? He hesitated for a fraction of a second before speaking, his voice carrying an unusual weight. I knew you'd be the only one left here, Sarah. His words lingered, and something about the way he said my name sent a ripple of something unidentifiable down my spine. A strange moment stretched between us, unspoken yet charged. His gaze flickered, then he smirked, just slightly as if amused by my surprise. You have a great figure, he said casually, as if commenting on the weather. Even the young girls can't compete with you. I stiffened. The compliment, if it was even just that, was unexpected, too direct for the easy, playful way we usually spoke. I folded my arms. Nicholas, what do you want? Why did you come in here? His smirk didn't fade, but something flickered in his expression, something unreadable. He blinked slowly, then exhaled, giving a small shake of his head. Nothing, he finally said before turning to leave. And just like that, he was gone, leaving only silence in his wake. The rest of the tournament played out in a blur of matches, calls, and celebrations. Our students performed brilliantly, securing several wins for our academy. Parents congratulated us, students hugged each other, and the energy in the air was intoxicating. But even as I cheered for the victories, my mind kept pulling back to that moment in the locker room. The way Nicholas had looked at me, the way he had said my name. Later that evening, as I walked through the corridor, reviewing the results on my clipboard, I felt a presence beside me. Nicholas. His expression was unreadable, but there was something in his eyes, something not quite like before. I raised an eyebrow, smirking slightly to break the tension. So, are we going to talk about what happened in my locker room? He chuckled softly, tilting his head. What do you mean? I shot him a look. Oh, you know exactly what I mean. He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. Maybe I was just impressed. With what? His gaze met mine, unwavering. With you. My breath caught slightly, but I masked it with a small laugh. You're a smooth talker. He shrugged. I'm just being honest. For the first time in years, I felt something unfamiliar between us. An unspoken shift, a subtle something that neither of us had dared name. What if? Nicholas started, then stopped, his words trailing off. I frowned slightly, turning toward him. What if what? His jaw clenched for a moment, as if he was debating whether to say what was on his mind. Then finally he exhaled, his voice quiet, contemplative. What if it's something more? Silence. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. My mind screamed at me to dismiss it, to laugh it off, to push it away. But I didn't. Couldn't. Nicholas. I started, but I wasn't sure what I was even about to say. He smiled faintly, almost knowingly. We don't have to name it, he murmured. Let time tell. I swallowed. And if it's nothing, then it's nothing. His expression remained calm, though his eyes said something else entirely. But what if it's something everyone dreams about? Had no response. The moment stretched, too long, too heavy, before he finally smiled again, this time with his usual teasing ease. Come on, he said, nodding toward the parking lot. Let's go celebrate the wins. I exhaled sharply, shaking my head as if to clear the lingering weight of his words. Then, forcing a smile, I followed him into the night, pretending the air between us wasn't different. Pretending I didn't feel the clockwork of our world shifting, even just a little. Life had always followed a rhythm, a predictable, steady cadence that made everything feel secure. For years, Nicholas and I moved in sync, running our tennis academy, sharing laughter over post-practice smoothies, pushing each other on the court. He was my son, my partner in this venture, the person who understood me better than anyone else. But something had changed. Maybe it was the way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention, studying me like I was a puzzle he hadn't quite solved. Or maybe it was the way my breath caught in my throat whenever I caught him watching. We were close, weren't we? The tournament had been exhausting, but our students had performed brilliantly. Laughter filled the team bus on the way home, the exhausted but victorious players still riding the high of their wins. The energy hummed around me, but fatigue was creeping in fast. I sat beside Nicholas near the back, stretching my arms with a yawn. "You okay?" he asked, his voice softer than usual. "Just tired," I murmured. "It's been a long day." He smiled. "Then sleep. I'll wake you when we get there." I didn't argue. The warmth of the bus, the quiet vibrations from the road. It was too much to fight. Without thinking, I let my head rest against his shoulder. His scent, a mix of faint cologne and the sweat from the long day, filled my senses. I didn't mean to fall asleep, but I did. I wasn't sure how long I had slept, but when I opened my eyes, the bus was quieter. The laughter had softened into murmurs, the streetlights outside flickering against the windows, casting Nicholas's face in sharp lines. And then I noticed it. The way he was looking at me. Not the way a son looks at his mother. It was subtle, hesitant, yet filled with something I didn't dare name. My heart tightened, and I swallowed against the strange, unexpected weight in my chest. "What?" I murmured, still caught in the haze of sleep. He didn't answer right away. His fingers tapped against his knee, his jaw tensing slightly before he finally exhaled. "I feel something," he said quietly. "Something I know I shouldn't." Froze. The world tilted slightly, my pulse hammering in my ears. I should have stopped him. I should have laughed, dismissed it, done something. But I didn't, because I knew exactly what he meant. I turned my head toward the window, watching the blurred city lights pass by, my breath shaky. "I do too," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. He inhaled sharply, as if my words had stolen the breath from his lungs. "I don't know what to do with it," he confessed. Neither did I. I was supposed to fight it, to shove it down, to make it disappear. But the truth was, I didn't want to. Because despite the fear, the impossibility, the overwhelming uncertainty, it was pleasant. And I didn't want to argue with something that made me feel so alive. The bus pulled into town late that night. The students groggily gathered their bags, stepping off one by one, but Nicholas and I remained in our seats, caught in the silence stretching between us. He shifted beside me, his fingers brushing against mine. Too accidental to be unintentional. I inhaled sharply. He hesitated, waiting for me to pull away. I didn't. Instead, I let his fingers lace through mine, our hands fitting together in a way that sent an unfamiliar thrill through my chest. He exhaled, his grip tightening just slightly. "Do you mind?" he asked softly. I should have said yes. I should have pulled away, ended this before it even had a chance to begin. But I didn't. Because in that moment, with his hand in mine, it felt like I had stepped into the pages of a storybook. And for the first time in my life, I didn't want to turn the page. So I shook my head, a quiet smile tugging at my lips. "No," I whispered. "I don't mind." And just like that, everything changed. In the days that followed, everything between us was the same, and yet completely different. We still trained together, still shared coffee in the mornings, still laughed over silly inside jokes. To anyone watching, we were the same close-knit duo we had always been. But beneath the surface, something had shifted. I felt it in the way Nicholas's hand would linger a second too long when passing me a tennis ball. I saw it in the way his gaze would flicker toward me when he thought I wasn't looking. I heard it in the way his voice softened when he said my name. It was exhilarating. It was terrifying. And most of all, it was him. That was the part that scared me the most. Because love was never supposed to happen like this. And yet, I couldn't bring myself to stop it. Because for the first time in a long, long time, I wanted to fall. It wasn't a sudden change. It was subtle, creeping in like the slow stretch of dawn. It was in the way Nicholas looked at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. It was in the way my heart sped up when he lingered a little too long at my side. It was in the way my mind wandered back to moments I should have dismissed. The brush of his hand, the weight of his gaze, the warmth in his voice when he said my name. And yet I told myself it was nothing. Until that evening. "Let's play," Nicholas said casually as we locked up the academy for the night. I turned to him, arching an eyebrow. "Haven't had enough tennis for one day." He smirked, twirling his racket between his fingers. "Come on, Sarah. It's been a while since we played one-on-one." It was true. Our days were spent coaching, refining our students' techniques. But it had been months since we faced each other on the court. Just the two of us. I sighed dramatically. "Fine. But don't come crying to me when you lose." He laughed. "We'll see about that." We parted ways to change, and I slipped into the locker room, my mind still half on our banter. The truth was, I enjoyed these moments, the lightness, the teasing. Nicholas had a way of making everything feel effortless, even when life was anything but. As I changed into my sports bra and shorts, I took a moment to breathe. The day had been long, and I could already feel the tension in my shoulders. A good match would be exactly what I needed. But then the door opened. I barely had time to react before Nicholas stepped inside. His presence filling the small space. I gasped, clutching my shirt to my chest. "Nicholas, what the hell are you doing?" He froze. His eyes widened slightly, his breath catching in his throat as he took me in. And then, just as quickly, he looked away, running a hand through his hair. "God, Sarah." His voice was strained, almost breathless. "Do you want me to die at such a young age?" My cheeks burned, heat rushing through me in a way I couldn't explain. "Nicholas, you are." He exhaled sharply, shaking his head as if trying to clear his thoughts. Then, in a quieter voice, he said, "You are an incredibly attractive woman." A slow, unbearable silence stretched between us. I should have laughed it off. I should have thrown a towel at him and shoved him out the door. But instead I stood there, the weight of his words pressing into me, stirring something deep and unspoken. He lingered, his presence behind me like a force I couldn't ignore. He came too close to my face, and for a moment, we both closed our eyes. It was a moment, just a moment, of something we both refused to name. Then Nicholas broke the silence, his voice low but teasing. "Are you ready to lose to me today?" I let out a shaky breath, forcing a smirk to cover whatever had just happened between us. "If I stay in this state of confusion with you," I muttered, pulling my shirt on, "I will definitely lose." By the time we stepped onto the court, the air between us was lighter again, but something lingered beneath the surface, unspoken, just out of reach. We turned on the music, letting it pulse through the speakers as we warmed up. "Winner gets bragging rights for the week," Nicholas announced, tossing the ball in the air. "Winner gets a month of bragging rights," I corrected. He grinned. "Deal." We played hard. The rhythm was familiar, our bodies moving in sync, pushing each other, testing limits. Every serve, every sprint, every sharp return. It was a dance we had perfected over the years. But Nicholas wasn't just playing to win. He was watching me. I could feel it in the way his gaze lingered, in the moments between serves when he stood just a little too close. I pretended not to notice, but I could feel the heat rise every time I caught his eye. And Nicholas, he was thinking about the locker room. I could see it, the way his focus flickered, the way his grip tightened on his racket. He was playing well, but his mind wasn't just on the game. It was on something forbidden. He won. For the first time in years, Nicholas finally beat me. Breathless, I stepped toward him. So close I could feel the heat radiating from his skin. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. His eyes locked onto mine. I reached up, pressing the lightest, softest kiss to his lips. It lasted a second, maybe two. But it was enough. Enough for my heart to slam against my ribs. Enough for the world to tilt slightly beneath me. I pulled back just enough to whisper against his lips. "Congratulations, my champion. You've finally defeated me in every sense of the word." Nicholas was still, his expression unreadable. Then, slowly, the corner of his mouth lifted. "Let's go to the locker room," he murmured, his voice low, teasing. "I'll give you a massage." I let out a breathless laugh, shaking my head, but before I could respond, he lightly tapped the racket below the back. I turned sharply, arching an eyebrow. He grinned. "What? Just making sure my victory is felt." I rolled my eyes, shoving him playfully. "You're impossible." We walked off the court together, and for the first time in a long time I let myself stop thinking. Because the truth was undeniable now. I was falling, and I was terrified. Then there was a massage for me from Nicholas. It was incredible. After everything that continued to happen to us, I felt only one thing. I am a desirable woman who has everything. Love comes unexpectedly.